Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Hope you've been doing good. You look beautiful, by the way. I'm just doing a little packing and making a video at the same time. Awesome multitasking. If this is your first time to my channel, hello there. How's it going? My name is Sarah Starlight. If you like my content, feel free to subscribe at any time during this video. Anyways, I'm gonna go get changed and then we're gonna talk about today's topic. Hello. So one of the main points of this channel has actually been education. I feel that the most empowering thing that I can give to another person is knowledge, something that I didn't honestly have when I was first starting my transition. And so the subject of today's video is all about hormones. Now, officially, I've been on hormones for around 14 months, and along that way has been an insane journey to womanhood. It's been filled with laughs, dark times, some insane emotions, and some massive changes to my body. I'm sorry, I need to get this phone call really quick. Okay, so my lawyers called me and said that I actually kind of need to give a little bit of a disclaimer at the beginning of this video. I am not a doctor. I just play one on TV. Everything that you hear in this video must be taken with the largest grain of salt ever. Your results will vary. Count on it. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get on to the wonderful world of womanhood. And so the first place I'd like to start would be HRT, otherwise known as hormone replacement therapy. And one of the most commonly accepted ways is bioidentical hormones. What are bioidentical hormones? I am glad you asked! Come with me to the magical land. Bioidentical hormones are the most naturally acceptable analog to cisgendered female hormones. They are generally consisting of plant-based estrogen that chemically is the same as the cisgendered females. They are the #1 safest way to transition with HRT. So one of the first things that I needed to do before I ever got the okay to start my hormones was I needed to find a gender therapist. Now, admittedly, I'm kind of lucky in that as far as trans-friendly cities go, Portland is up there at the top. The one thing that I really love about my gender therapist is that she provided such a safe space for me to express my ideas and really come to understand why I am the way I am and who I am. And that was something that was incredibly important for me before undergoing HRT, was because there's this notion of informed consent. Basically, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. And so finally, I had a gender therapist. However, that was the first in many steps before I ever got my hormones. The second step was that I needed to find a doctor who was able and willing to help me along in this journey. My doctor, I just think she's the best. Her name's Dr. Suzanne Scopes. So if you are ever in need, by all means, go to her. So okay, you've got your gender therapist, you've got your doctors. What is next? The next step can look a little different for everyone. Admittedly, before you actually start the hormones, you have to go on what's known as blockers. For me, that was testosterone blockers, known as spironolactone. These little magical pills are what's known as a diuretic, flushing those evil testosterone bugs from my body. And generally, when you're first starting, you go on those for about 6 weeks. However, I myself was a little bit genetically lucky in that my testosterone level by the time I actually got to my doctor was pretty close to a cisgendered female already. Thank you, genetics! Okay, so you got your gender therapist who referred you to your doctor. You've got your doctor. Now, what's the third thing you need before you get HRT? Well, if you're a little more forward thinking, it's genetic material banking. Now, for trans women, this means banking sperm. And for me, admittedly, that was a little harder. It's a little smarter to do it at the beginning, especially if you're thinking of getting SRS. And we'll discuss this in a future video, but once you get to SRS, there really is no going back. Okay, so now you're on your spironolactone and you are doing awesome. There is no testosterone in your body. Woo! Now you get the best part, estrogen! And let me just welcome you into that process, because to be honest, it's an amazing journey. For as crappy as it feels sometimes, and as embarrassing and awkward, there is an incredible amount of beauty in it. And for me, it continuously amazes me every day, the changes that are occurring in my body, but the things that I'm discovering within myself. And so let's talk about it. Individuals who are undergoing HRT generally take the oral form of estrogen, which is known as estradiol. It's a little blue pill of magic. Now, admittedly, I took this for 3 months and things were going pretty fine. I noticed smaller pores, softer skin. A majority of what I noticed initially was mental changes. My access to my emotions was a lot quicker than any time that I had ever experienced before that. One of the bigger effects of testosterone is it gives your body a better way to manage your emotions. And so really, in those first 3 months, I kind of learned to refer to myself as going through my second puberty. And if you remember anything about your initial puberty, or if you're going through it yourself, you understand how incredibly awkward it is. I started with chemical transition, which actually was a little easier to conceal, because the truth was, I still wasn't sure how to bring this topic up to any of my friends, to say nothing of my family. And so really, those first 4 months when I was on estrogen, it made it easy for me to understand if this was something I needed or wanted to continue. Which of course I did, but at the time I was incredibly insecure about my transition. I believe one of the easiest ways to ease anxiety is knowledge. Arming myself with knowledge helps protect my mental state against all of those evil things that are trying to tell you that you shouldn't transition. And so one of the things that I actually discovered was this injectable form of estradiol. And come to find out, it's being commonly used by a lot of trans women. Now you're probably asking yourself, Sarah, why would you switch to an injectable form? I like the oral form just fine. Well, let's talk about it. The oral form of estrogen, for a majority of trans women, might just be fine. However, a number of factors play into that. Genetics, metabolism, height and size of body, the alignment of the stars on your birth year, a number of things. And so when I was reading into this concept of injectable estrogen, I actually came to find out that it's a lot healthier for you. Because your body is processing it so slowly, you're really only getting about 15% of estrogen. However, if you're doing injectable forms of estrogen, not only is it easier on your kidneys and liver, it's easier on your body because you're injecting it directly into the muscle. You're getting 100% of the estrogen, thereby accessing the full effects. And so months 4 through 9 were actually going pretty well. I was noting minor changes in my body, fat redistribution. One of the major side effects of taking estrogen is that your muscle mass actually kind of reduces. I've also noticed a wondrous weight loss. However, this is not to be confused with an amazing diet. Nothing can replace diet and exercise. Oddly enough, I actually lost like 2 shoe sizes throughout this whole process, which is really weird. And admittedly, midway through this process, my doctor also started adding in a third option to my hormone replacement therapy, the little pill known as progesterone. Progesterone is another one of those bioidentical hormones. It's not required all the time. However, for me, it was kind of a necessity. It assisted as a mood booster, but also it assisted in breast growth. Which brings me to today. You might be asking yourself, why go through all of this? Why go on this journey through HRT? Well, the biggest point that I've always tried to make with people is that my transition is only as important to me as how it's going to alleviate my dysphoria. There is a misalignment between my body and my mind. And that misalignment is known as gender dysphoria. And a big benefit of HRT, to say nothing of blockers, it assists in the alleviation of gender dysphoria. This is also why I will be getting SRS next year, is because for me, these are steps that I'm taking in my journey to alleviate that dysphoria, but also to retain happiness and fulfillment in this life. And for you, that actual process is probably going to look a little different. You know, some trans women are actually really okay with just going through HRT. Some never do it at all. Their appearance and ability to transition socially is a lot easier. For me, that was incredibly hard because for me, testosterone did a real number on my body. When I started transitioning in my early 30s, there really wasn't an opportunity for me to reverse any of those masculinizing effects. Because when I started this journey, I was experiencing some incredible depression around personally my transition, myself, the world I was living in, a number of factors. However, the alleviation of dysphoria in myself due to HRT, it quite literally saved my life. However, I don't want to make the point that it's going to save yours. HRT, again, is incredibly dangerous and puts me at risk for a number of things. If I'm self-medicating, those risks are increased. And so never on this channel will you see me advocating for self-medication. However, because situations are what they are, some places you can't get HRT, some places you don't have that option. And so I understand where you're coming from. As someone who did start self-medicating before I ever saw a doctor or gender therapist, I'll never say it's okay, but I can understand. Well, so that'll do it for today's video. If you like this content, I absolutely hope you subscribe to this channel and become part of this community. I really hope you guys are having an awesome week. I hope you tell yourself